Welcome back to the lab. 3rd of January, 8 o'clock at night, clock's ticking. First round of NZ Superlap series with the little March thingy here. It's getting closer and closer. Still some things we can do. The car is basically, it's finished, ready to go. But I'm tinkering, of course. What's sitting on the bench here, this is the tone wheel that was on the rear axle. As you can see, it's only got 2 teeth on it. It's only got 2 teeth on it because the Link G4 Plus, so the older ECU that we had, the digital input that we had available to use for the speed input, couldn't read high enough frequency to read all 46 teeth, I think it is. I wrote it on the board, yeah, it's 46 teeth on the original factory Nissan tone wheel. Which is normally read by the reluctor sensor through the ABS system and put through the CAN system into the ECU to get your speed that way. But with this car, we don't have the ABS unit or the reluctor sensors, and we can't use those anyway. So we've got a Hall effect sensor, and originally we had 2 teeth because that's 46, which is a dumb number, and you need an even number for it to work properly to be able to take teeth away and not have an odd spacing. So 2 was the only option. The problem with having 2 is it's very, very low resolution. When the car's going very slowly, it doesn't take much for the sensor and the system to get tripped up and think that things are going on that aren't. And it used to quite frequently tell you that you're doing 150 k's an hour in the pits when you were actually doing 10. So with the new G4X, I could take that one off, put this one on, literally 23 times the resolution, and now we've got a very accurate speedo that reads no problems at all, no fluctuations, no craziness going on in there while the thing's going nice and slow. Car's clean and shiny, it's full of fuel, all the fluids have all been checked, everything's good. Did not drip one single drop of blood while it was on the dyno, so that's great. The panels are now on underneath. The drive shaft that I talked to you about earlier on, and the, what are we going to call it, little safety plate thing so that we wouldn't connect against the ring gear. No paint's missing off the drive shaft there. I don't think it did move. I think it was maybe just a panic stations thing. So that's definitely is not touching that, so that's great. In the back here, we've done some tinkering. We'll do something with these ones soon, but you'll see there's some, well, you might not see, oh, you can see there's some scat hosing on there, and I've put that, here we go, here's this dinosaur noise, there you go, you love that, don't you? We put the scat hosing in there to direct some more cold air towards our air filters. Because that sensor right there that's on the end of my finger, that was telling us that the charge air temp that was coming out of those lovely Pulsar GTX 2860R turbos was 150 degrees C. Pretty hot. So they were either working very hard or they were sucking in quite a lot of hot air. It's possibly the hot air is more the issue. The intercooler system that I've built, beautiful. 45 degrees C coming out of there at full throttle, full power, 150 degrees C there, 45 there. So you can't complain about that. That's very, very good. Not the 150 degrees C thing. The 45 is very good. Not concerned about 150 out of there. It's way higher than what you want, but we're cooling it down. We'll see if it can maintain that long term on the track. After a few minutes, it's all very well and good doing one relatively long pull on the dyno for 10 or 11 seconds or whatever and holding the temp down. We'll see if it can do it with repetitive pulls on the track. There's the tone wheel that we were talking about just before. There it is there. I've used a Hall effect sensor that's the same as some of the ones on the engine, so that if we have one go bad on the engine, we know there's definitely one physically bolted to the car that we can steal and use. You'll notice the splines have had yellow paint put on them. I did that some time ago actually, in case we have any issues at the track. It's very, very easy to look at that and go, well, that hasn't moved, so it's not that. unless you're really unlucky and it's spun all the way around and come back and lined up again, which would be just super bad luck. I've been in there and I've changed some 1s and 0s inside its brain there, a lovely Link Extreme G4X ECU. So she's now rev limited differently depending on what gear it's in. So we're using the potentiometer off the HGT Precision sequential 5-speed gearbox, and first, second, third, fourth, 7,250 RPM. The old VQ35 in the back there. Fifth gear, because we want to be able to stretch our legs a little bit, 7,600. So 7,500. Might as well open that up again, should I? Things we're talking about that. 7,500 RPM from that machine there was going to give us 246 k's an hour. So 7,600 RPM will give us just a little tiny little bit more, probably 250 k's an hour, something like that. Now, Mr. Tuner had been a bit brave and set the rev limit to 8 grand. The actual engine, I think, is probably going to be okay at 8 grand. Maybe not so much the oil pump, but I wasn't quite that brave, so I pulled that back. We didn't go to 8 on the dyno. I think we went to 7.5 or 7.6, as high as that. And it may have been that it was set at 8 grand just to make sure it didn't hit the rev limiter while it was on the dyno, while we were tuning it, and had the intention of pulling it back and perhaps didn't. But whatever, that's fine, no problems there. I've shifted it somewhere I'm happier with. So I've changed some of the settings for the water pump that's living in the front here, the electric booster pump that helps the water pump, the main mechanical water pump on the engine, because that's not going to, it doesn't keep up very nicely with the long water tract on this vehicle. Once you're on the track, it was okay. We found this all out while it was 2-wheel drive, but at lower engine speeds, the water pump just doesn't generate enough flow, positive and negative pressure potential difference or whatever, to get the water all the way from the back to the front and back again at adequate speed, and it tends to run a bit hot. So we have an electric booster pump, so I've changed some of the settings on that to help us out. It was running pretty good on the dyno as far as temperatures go. Definitely have resolved the head gasket situation, the bores wobbling around or whatever it was that was going on there. That's not an issue anymore. But of course, all those things are something that we just have to keep an eye on when we get out there using it. Basically, first time. Taupo's reasonably high altitude track compared to all the other tracks in New Zealand, so the air density is not particularly great there, and the temperatures can be quite extreme one way or the other. Over the summer, it can be very, very hot at the track. So that's always a good test for cooling system on any vehicle there. So a couple of people made comments that on Facebook, I think they didn't watch our YouTube video here, about the dyno sessions and how much power and all that sort of stuff. A little bit of confusion there. So basically the numbers are, in case you didn't pick it up in the previous video, the number I'll use is 515 kilowatts at the hubs. Depending on your correction factor, it's actually potentially a little bit more than that, depending on, like I say, depending on your correction factor. So a solid 500 kilowatts, give or take. Splitting hairs either or one way or the other, whatever. 680 horsepower or something. So I've been calling it 700 horsepower Nissan March. If you take your drivetrain losses at 25%, which is probably pretty good ballpark for this car with the diff arrangement and all that sort of carry on, it's actually 850 horsepower March. 850 horsepower at the engine, so probably 600 kilowatts or something, we're guessing, at the engine. The fuel consumption, when you go through the charts, backs that up. I'm actually running 91% duty cycle on our 1300cc IDA injectors. I never thought we'd get to that number on those, but there you go. So yeah, the 700 horsepower Nissan March, maybe we call it an 850 horsepower Nissan March. 700 the wheels, right? Let's just call it that. We'll give it the 20 horsepower and not worry about trying to call it at the flywheel. So yeah, 700 horsepower. let's see how it goes at the track. That'll probably be the next video, I think. There's really not much to do from here. A little bit more cleaning. The car's pretty clean. Tyre pressures, stick it on the trailer. That'll happen Friday, and we'll go and test it and hope there's nothing wrong. We'll test it early Friday, and then if there's something wrong, we might have time to fix that so that we're good to go for Saturday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And you'll see me at Taupo. Cheers, bye.